happy Friday. It is another Mavens of Manufacturing Day. And I know it's early in the morning, but I'm really excited to have Abagail from HelpLink here today because she has something really wonderful going on. And I think it's really going to help empower employees, which is going to help employers be more productive and generate more revenue. So I'm super excited to hear your story, Abagail. But welcome to Mavens of Manufacturing, and thank you for being flexible with your schedule, because I know you're a mom like me, and that can be hard sometimes. But how are your kiddos doing? How are they
I was
doing?
actually laughing because you said 9:30 was early. I was like, girl, I've been up since 6. What do you mean?
Oh, yeah.
The whole world. I fed an army today.
That's how I was yesterday. I woke up at 2:30 in the morning to go to Eau Claire for some filming, and yeah, kind of slept in a little bit this morning because I didn't get up until 6:15 with my kids.
Oh my God, 2:30. I would refuse to be on camera at 2:30. So
Yeah.
God bless you for that.
So, but Abagail, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? How did you get started in what you're doing today? Like, because I don't think your background is necessarily manufacturing. You're more of an entrepreneur and a go-getter and a problem solver. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, everything you listed, I fell into accidentally. So I still don't quite qualify myself as any of those either, right? I'm just someone that gets really frustrated when I see a problem not being solved. That's what I am, right? I'm one of those. So background on me, first and foremost, I'm a mom of 4. So 18 down to 4 months. I like to give everybody the warning that any moment my 4-month-old could decide that she wants to be a part of this party. It will not be her first podcast. So hopefully she stays sleeping, but if not, you might get to meet Cordelia. And then previous to that, I do have a little bit of background in plastics manufacturing, actually, which is how all of my stuff kind of came together. But back in 2017, frankly, Megan, my life was falling apart. Things were not going well for me. I describe it as a train going off the tracks with a dumpster fire on board, and I was somewhere in that mix. And I looked around and realized that I had completely isolated myself and that I had nobody to turn to for help when I needed it most. And so I set out on this mission to, start helping people and making sure that everybody had somebody in their time of need. And what it looked like was launching this Facebook group called Spark in the Dark that I thought was going to help a few people and was going to make me feel good and give me a community. And it did all of those things. But I was thinking like 8 to 10 needs maybe. I am very humbled to say that we actually have 32,000 members in Michigan. And we have connected 100,000 needs to solutions since 2017, which is a crazy number. And it grows by about 15,000 more needs every single year. So my mind can't quite fathom that. And it's a peer-to-peer resource sharing group. But what started to happen was I was reviewing all of those needs with my team. So I've seen about 140,000 needs come across my desk, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And about 30% of them were work related. 30% were, I need work. I need help getting to work. I need to not lose my job. And here's this thing that's in the way of it, whether that was a gas card or it was a car repair or it was daycare, right? These kind of barriers to getting to work. And so we started HelpLink because I actually had a gentleman at a party one day tell me that he had to fire somebody because they didn't show up and they were so lazy and they didn't want to work. And I get that. We hear it a lot, right? I don't think that's an uncommon statement. And so he was, super upset he had to fire this employee. And that employee happened to be posting on my nonprofit group. So I knew that he had been hitching rides to work every day and doing everything he could to get total strangers to get him to where he needed to be. And then his luck ran out and rides ran out. And obviously he didn't show up. And so this guy thought he had to fire him. I very politely informed him that he had a $400 tire problem, not a $10,000 rehire problem. And that if he wanted to keep his employee, he should buy him tires, not fire him. And so HelpLink kind of began, and that's what we do now.
I really think that's interesting, the comparison that you just made, because I feel like when people are higher up, especially in a company, they kind of forget the humanness that exists within their company and start looking at people as numbers. But when you provide that specific number, like you could have saved $10,000 on a rehire if you would have just maybe provided a little bit of numbers to this solution, you would have kept the same employee who obviously wanted to keep that job because they were doing everything that they possibly could to find a ride, probably hitchhike a couple times. I don't know. Like, when people do want to work, they will go above and beyond to try to get there if that job means something to him. And obviously it did, because he was posting somewhere else on your nonprofit organization and seeing if he could get help that way. So I like that you gave that comparison. And we do have a couple comments just of people saying hi. We have Hank here. Hi, Hank. Thanks for joining us. And then Renee, you guys are awesome. Thank you. I love your profile picture, by the way, of Optimus Prime. That's super cool. So how have things been going with HelpLink? Like, can you break that down on how it works so that companies can get an idea of what the process is to get signed up for it, and what the expectations are if they sign up as a member towards HelpLink?
Yeah, absolutely. So we took everything I just mentioned and kind of made it one very cohesive platform. By we, I mean my business partner, Dan, who is far smarter than I. He is a software developer, and the things that man can do kind of blows my mind, frankly. So the way HelpLink works is businesses sign up their companies and they make a pledge. Say that's, the average is about $1,000 a month. They say, I'm going to put $1,000 a month into this pledge, and every single month, no matter what, it's going to go out and meet community needs. So community needs are going to be things like work boots. They're going to be clothing. They're going to be diapers. They're going to be car repair, right? It's got to be basic essential needs. You'll never see a flat screen TV or anything on there like that. And so they say, no matter what, I'm committed to spending this money. It's always going to go through a nonprofit. It's always going to be tax deductible. But what you do as a business is you invite all of your employees to join the platform as well and select you as their employer. And then if you're an employee in need and you post that need within HelpLink, when that company's money comes out at the beginning of the month, it automatically meets the need of the employee first and foremost before going to general donations within the system. So you're still giving, you're still using charitable dollars, you're still donating to nonprofits who are sponsoring these needs. You are just prioritizing your staff first.
So then if there isn't a need within your staff, you're actually just putting it through the larger pot of donations, so then it can go anywhere to anyone, maybe another company that might need a little bit more than their monthly contribution.
Absolutely.
That's super cool. That's really empowering the sense of community too, then, not just your own community, but a larger one.
Well, and you have the ability to choose, nonprofits that you really care about, right? You can make them preferred so that after your employees, it goes to the nonprofits' needs that are posted. You could choose veterans. You could choose single parents. I mean, it's really as granular as you want it to be in terms of choosing how that money goes out after your staff is helped.
What are some of the nonprofits that you're partnered with that are part of the platform?
Yeah, so Spark in the Dark, obviously, which is my nonprofit. The Alzheimer's Association is working on, there's all kinds of little local ones as well. Leland Christian Neighbors, Addiction Treatment Services, things like that. So it's a pretty wide pot at this point. And then when we onboard new companies, we ask them what nonprofits they care about. And then we go out and invite those nonprofits to join and sponsor needs as well.
Since the last time we talked, because I know it's been a while since we first chatted about HelpLink, how many companies have you had sign up for this, for HelpLink, to help really empower their employees?
Yep. So we're still pretty young. So we have about, I want to say 20 or so companies onboarded in kind of our area right now. And they really range from, manufacturing companies to food services to Cherry Republic, which is actually a retail store that's really large. So it's really been interesting actually to see how many kinds of companies this speaks to.
So, in your opinion, how is HelpLink really helping transform that corporate philanthropy? What are some of the major benefits that companies can get from having a platform like this?
Yeah, I think, speaking in terms of manufacturing, for my plastics manufacturing days, the idea of lean, right? Of lean everything. I always think it's so interesting that manufacturing companies don't see their giving as an opportunity to be lean, right? I mean, why would you not make it better, make it faster, make it easier, make it automated, and also create way more impacts? Because you don't have a company, you don't have a staff that can get to work because they can't pay their electric bill, right? You just, they have a fire and they can't get there. And, one machine being down can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so when I'm talking to manufacturing companies and helping them trying to wrap their head around why they shouldn't just write a $5,000 check to whatever nonprofit it is and ship it off into the night, and maybe it goes somewhere and maybe it doesn't, this gives you really detailed reporting. So we can actually show you your impact down to the penny. And it all comes out as an annual and quarterly report that you can print out. It shows everything from the demographic to the single parents. Maybe everybody in your right? Maybe everybody on your floor is asking for work boots. That's something you should probably look into, right? If the same needs keep bubbling up for the same things, it gives you a really unique opportunity to build in methods to mitigate that. And that's just something you can't do right now in the charitable giving space, because traditionally you get a newsletter at the end of the year telling you where your money sort of went.
So is this something more focused on like material needs, or are there options for, because one of the conversations around really empowering employees and retaining them is education opportunities. So is some sort of tuition reimbursement involved in your list of needs? Like, how do you come up with that list of needs that employers can really support? Because you said you had so many.
We just added that. So I'm pumped that you asked, because that came out of a conversation with Jackson Area Manufacturing Association. Was like, hey, we really want to team up with nonprofits that do upskilling and training. Is there a way for us to pay for their bills? And the answer is yes. So you can now upload education bills, usually specific to trades. The only criteria really is that HelpLink needs to be able to call and pay that item directly. So, so we call and pay over the phone. There's actually no money exchanged on HelpLink at all. So the money from the company comes out, it goes to the nonprofit need, right? Whatever that nonprofit sponsored need is. And then once it's fulfilled, HelpLink actually goes out and fulfills that need. So they call the electric company, they call the training school, they, get on Amazon and buy the work boots, whatever it is. And then they fulfill the need. And then any extra money actually rolls over and goes into other needs. So you might set out, you might set out to meet a housing payment and then have extra left over that then goes to God only knows where, and pays for somebody else's diapers.
Yeah, I think this is really perfect timing too, especially in the United States with how things are, because everything is just more and more expensive. And we're hearing, conversations around the middle class not really being existent anymore. Like, it's just super hard for people to afford things, even like groceries. And this is a really great opportunity for companies to show that they care about their employees and they want them to stay there. So do you have any specific success stories that you can share with us, or like any favorite moments that you've had since starting HelpLink?
One of my favorites happened 2 days ago. I feel like every day is a favorite, right? I get to be a professional helper, and that's my whole job. So like every day is my favorite day, because I get to wake up and I have, a queue of needs that have been met. And it's like, your job today is to go help these 25 people, right? And go fulfill their needs. Like, terrible work. Yesterday, 2 days ago, a gentleman posted he was in need of an alternator for his car. And in his case, his car is like his main job, right? I mean, everything he does revolves around driving. And he actually ended up posting it on HelpLink. And in 32 minutes, his need was met. He had an alternator by the end of the day.
That's awesome.
Which is crazy to think about, because normally, I don't know how familiar you are with the nonprofit sector. I have, 8 years in the nonprofit sector, plus I've worked beyond just running my own. And a lot of times the process, for those that don't know, is you have to, first of all, get out of work to even go and step foot into the brick and mortar nonprofit, right? So first you got to find the time to go in, ask for the help that you need. They review usually some kind of banking and documents and paperwork. They put your need in, and then at the end of the week, maybe that need goes in with another pile of needs that goes to a board, and then that board decides where they want to spend the money and what needs are most pertinent. And then they come back, and then they call you next week and say, hey, like, we chose, your need. We're going to buy you the alternator. We'll mail you a check, right? And so, I mean, it's usually a 2-week, a lot of times a 2-week process. If nonprofits are fast, it's a 1-week process. It is never a 32-minute process, ever.
No.
And it was just one of those, and it was a combination of a business donation, like a random business donation, and rollovers and pay it forward, which is where you could actually give to the, just a random need in the system. And then a whole bunch of strangers that all came in and chipped in $20, $30 because they saw the post on Facebook.
I think that's super cool, because it's there's a gentleman on LinkedIn, and one of his youngest is actually going through cancer treatment, and he was he posts quite a bit about his journey, and it's just been so amazing and wonderful to see the amount of support the community has come together to really help him and his family with some of those payments. Like, that's hard enough that you have to wake up every day, try to go to work, try to get and his wife had to quit her job to be 100% present for their son while he's going through treatment, which that's a common thing, a more common thing than we realize, parents who have to quit their jobs so that they can take care of a member of the family. So I just feel like something like this is really beneficial, not just for, employers, but the individuals. Like, it does show them that, humanity still exists, and there's still nice people out there willing to come and help support them, because we're all part of the same community. So I really commend you on all of the work that you're doing. I get really excited about it. And now with the holidays coming around and everybody's worried about, how they're going to support their families and stuff. Yeah. I just think this is the perfect timing to have this conversation. Can you kind of go through the process that employers have to go through to sign up for HelpLink? Is there an additional fee to be part of the platform, or is it just sign up and then you make your pledge and you move forward? How does this whole process look for people interested in the platform?
Yeah. And just for the record too, I totally failed to mention this. You don't have to be a company. You can also be a person, as we're talking about the holiday season. So you, as Megan, could go and pledge $50 a month and just let it go wherever, or choose what kind of needs you want to help, or choose in your area. The podcast could. I mean, there's all of these cool ways that just individual humans can also give, because you're right. Everybody together is better, right? And so when a company can't step up, a person can. And when a person can't step up, a company can, and a nonprofit can. And everybody is kind of in this mixing pot together.
Yeah.
As for setting it up, I made this as easy as humanly possible. It quite literally takes under 5 minutes. The hardest part is choosing how much money you want to put in every single month. That's the biggest decision you have to make. But the process to go into, the platform itself is app.helplink.org. And you go in, you put in your mobile number. It sends you a text message to confirm you're a human and you're not, some kind of robot. And beyond that, you set up your profile, and that's it. So it takes about 5 minutes if you're bad at technology. I like to give a little buffer space.
That's awesome.
As far as the process beyond that, you just set up your monthly giving. You got to remind me of that last part you asked me.
I can't remember. I was so into what you were saying. But no, one of the things is with the monthly donations, is that something that once they set it, it has to be set for a certain time of length, or is it something they can go in and change if they want to make it higher or lower depending on what their budget needs are?
Yep. So you can always tweak it. When it comes to companies, our request is, hey, if you're going to do this, sign on for a year, right? So that we have consistent money in the system. The best part of my day is meeting needs. The worst part of my day is seeing a need expire without the help that it needs, right? And that is the worst feeling, because you get so invested in these stories. You mentioned a medical bill, for example, of a friend of yours on a journey. There's a medical bill right now in HelpLink that's, I want to say it's around $4,000, but it's for a little boy who was born without enamel on his teeth. And he needs 3 serious dental surgeries. He's going to have his jaw broken and wired together at some point. And this is, this young single mom with this 8-year-old boy who needs all of this dental surgery that can't, there's just no help for it. And otherwise, what happens is this little boy suffers for life, right? Because he has no enamel on his teeth. And so to have to make those choices as a parent is miserable.
Yeah. And I know how tough it can be to be in that situation and have to ask for help, because some people don't want to ask for help. So I know how tough that situation can be. I'm curious, is there a vetting process that people who submit needs for, is there some sort of vetting process that they have to go through? Because I know you mentioned earlier on in the conversation, like, this isn't for like flat screen TVs or personal items that aren't necessarily a need but more of a want kind of thing. Like, do they have to fill out some sort of questionnaire or something? Like, how does that submission process work for people looking to fill a need of their own?
Yep. So the needs get to us in a few different ways. And it depends a lot on the nonprofit. So, for example, Networks Northwest is a prison reentry program. And the way that they work is, if they have somebody walk into their office that has a need that they can't fulfill, that person can actually scan a QR code and be connected to Networks Northwest, post their need through HelpLink that way. So Networks Northwest has kind of shaken their hands and vetted them that way. Versus, say, addiction treatment services, where they say, if you identify as someone going through recovery right now and you're within 25 miles of us, we don't care, we'll pick up the need. And you don't have to meet them. Spark in the Dark, my nonprofit, is actually committed to picking up any wayward need that's on the platform. So if it doesn't match with a nonprofit, we have kind of agreed to scoop up all of those, because the worst case scenario is you buy somebody food. Right.
Yeah.
Or you buy them underwear, and maybe they don't need it. Maybe they do. Who are we to say? But I'm confident and comfortable in doing that, because the system actually has a whole bunch of things in place. So you can only have 4 active needs per month posted. You can only have 12 needs met per year. You can only have 1 mortgage payment paid for in a calendar year. And then there's a whole bunch of ranking systems as well that I don't want to give too much of the ingredients away, just because I don't want anyone to ever be able to figure out how to get past it. But there are algorithms that make it very difficult for you to get multiple needs met, just because there's so many needs in the system that get ranked on priority. So
I like that, though.
Yeah, it's very, he really, Dan, business partner, took 8 years of my brain and nonprofiting and put it into this incredible algorithm. It's me, but you don't have
awesome. That's awesome.
And then payments. So 100% of a company's money is tax deductible. The nonprofits actually pay a 15% service fee on the other end, but that's all put into the need. So there's never any surprise fees. We do not get paid unless we are meeting needs, period. So that is the only way money comes through, is once a need has been fully funded and met. That is kind of our personal mission, right? We don't want to just be taking in people's money on subscription models if we're not doing anything.
Mhm.
But companies themselves, it's free to sign up. They are pledging whatever they pledge. And then they also have the ability, Megan, to match employee donations and match customer donations as well.
I like
So there's a
that.
whole kind of company culture piece to this as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're from the manufacturing space, so you have to know about like all of the skill issues that we're having and trying to fill. And there's a lot of retention problems too. So, how is being part of a platform like HelpLink really going to help maybe close some of those gaps that we're seeing in the industry?
Yeah. So going back to my earlier numbers of, 30% of that 100,000, so about 30,000 people. I watched 30,000 people scramble to get to work, and I can promise you not all of them made it. Right. And
Yeah.
so it's just kind of going back to this idea that, frankly, you can't even, rehiring is hard enough as it is, but you got to have people to rehire in the first place. Right. And so you can't really afford to just fire people anymore for not showing up, which is, I think, a big part of the retention and absenteeism problem, is because
Mhm.
it's a lot harder to replace that person. So it's a lot harder to let them go. But a lot of times those people aren't not showing up because they want to. Like,
Yeah.
right? Nobody wants to wake up and be like, oh, I just don't feel like going to work today. Like, I don't know how many people you know, but I know a lot of people, and very few of them are, lazy
Yeah.
or incompetent or just feel like not showing up to the job they got a week ago that they interviewed for 2 months for. I
Right.
just,
Well, I know a lot of people who've had to take either their vacation time or their sick time to stay home because, again, they're taking care of someone else in their family or they're a parent. And, they could be either a single parent or, one of two working parents in a household. And things come up, emergencies happen. Like this past weekend, for crying out loud, my boys both got sick at the same time. And I'm just great. Like, I'm blessed enough to have my own company, so I don't have to like fill out paperwork to take a sick day. Like, I'm just gonna be like, I can't work today because my boys are homesick. And
right.
not everybody has that luxury to do that. And they have to kind of strategize either by themselves or the family that's helping them or with their significant other to be like, okay, who's taking work off today, because we have to figure
Fill in
this
the blank.
out.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I
So
cannot tell you how often it is car repair problems that keep people from work. I mean, there's not a lot of resources for it out there for nonprofits. There's just not. And so
mhm.
I guess going back to your question in terms of retention, our goal, we can't solve all of your problems, right? But our goal is to get the people that want to be to work, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of them are uncomfortable asking, because it's the question I always get, well, we have HR for that. Yeah, sort of. Until anyone has to walk in and ask HR for help. I don't know kind of your backstory, Megan. I know my life, and asking for help is really humbling and really hard. And most of the time I would rather pull out my fingernails.
Yeah.
Admit that I need help with a car repair, or that I can't afford gas to get to the new job that I spent the weeks selling you on what a great employee I was going to be, but I've also been without work for 3 months and I don't have gas to get to work, right? And so things like that are so achievable and easy to get past and through for these people with a little bit of help from the company. And why a company wouldn't want to spend $50 on a gas card versus have a no call, no show, it's beyond me.
Mm-hmm.
So
So speaking of that, because sometimes, people don't want their identity known in these moments, because it is kind of like, man, I shouldn't have to be asking for this because I work so hard and this is kind of embarrassing for me. So does HelpLink have some sort of anonymity for people who don't want to share who they are? Like, how does that work?
Yep. So it's actually, so it is anonymous in the sense that within the page of needs for that company, fellow employees cannot see the names of the people who are asking for the item. So that way it's anonymous. And then HR is not going through and approving any needs or anything like that. So they're not seeing the names either. There are ways for HR or whoever your administrator is to go into the back end if they need to look a little more deeply into a need, but they have to go and look for it. Our goal was to make it so that HR could be entirely unbiased and that a need was getting met because a need was being posted, not because they like somebody better than somebody else.
I like that. I think that's a really good idea. We have Andrew who just said hi real quick. Hey, Andrew, thanks for joining us. He has a Lego podcast that's really awesome. If you want to have a conversation to build Legos, it's super, super cool. I did it and it was a lot of fun. He was faster than myself and the other guests because I have a problem trying to build things and talk at the same time. So Abigail, what is your future vision for HelpLink? Like, what's next for you guys? Are there any new things that you're thinking about adding to the platform? Any new needs? Are there specific challenges you're running into that you might need help with from our audience? Like, what can we expect from you moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, every day is growing because we are still a young company. The goal is, of course, to be kind of a household name, right? Like that's everybody's goal, I feel like. But for us in particular, I mean, it's a win-win-win for everybody, which was definitely our goal in building this, right? I'm not out to make a bunch of money. I'm not out to, buy a mansion on the ocean. I'm out to literally help as many people as humanly possible before I, leave the world. That's my goal.
I love that.
And so that's always my ask of people. It's like, hey, if you work for a company that especially companies that already have a strong company culture, this is a really good fit for them. It's an easy sell. I'm delightful in an interview, I promise. But you won't be embarrassed that you brought me to your boss, usually. So,
well, I think that you're authentic too, and that's what I liked about that's what I like about you. So the first time we had a conversation, you just had your youngest, I believe, because she was still an infant, and I was like, oh, that's so and I like that because I feel like there's a lot of parents out there who can't necessarily bring that all to work, and it is very, very hard. I think it's probably changed since the last time I heard this, but one of the stats that I heard about how much it costs for having one child is like $250,000. And that's a lot of money.
For one human.
For one human, yeah, which is crazy. So I just feel like with platforms like HelpLink, and I'm not going to say platforms because I really haven't seen any other platform like this. Like you do have the donation platforms, like GoFundMe. So is there let's talk about that. With GoFundMe, that's a really good platform. That's what my friend is using to get help for his son. What are some of the differences that HelpLink has versus something like GoFundMe?
Yeah, so the biggest one is that we never send a check.
Okay.
So for us, it's very specific needs. So if you get on HelpLink and you say, hey, I've got an electric bill and it's $200 and it's past due, and you fill out all the information, $200 gets raised or the company puts in that $200. HelpLink then picks up the phone and calls the electric company. And if the electric company says, no, this bill is only $116, HelpLink says, okay, we'll pay $116. And now that extra money, that $200 from that $200 actually goes out and meets more needs. So you are never, ever left wondering what happened to your money. You get an alert, you get an email that says, hey, you donated $116.32 to this guy's electric bill. It happened on this day at this time through this nonprofit. Here's all the paperwork. And then when his electric bill gets met on the other side, let's call him Bill. Bill's electric bill gets paid. Bill. I see how I came up with the name. One of those moments of that wasn't very creative. Here, I never say bill either. So his bill gets paid. He actually gets an alert as well, an email that says, "Hey, Bill, this electric bill need has been paid. Here was the amount. Here is the business that donated to you, right? With the logos. Make sure to say thank you." And then it gives him a link. And he has to click that link and say thank you and upload a picture of, in this case, the electric bill getting paid, for example. Upload a photo, say thank you. That thank you then goes out to everybody who donated, whether it was $1 or $500, so that again, that your need got met, that Bill is thankful. And then Bill can never post again until he has said thank you. So
that's awesome. I like that.
It's like a closed loop system.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what, the thank you feed, if you need like some feel good vibes and energy, hop onto the platform. You can just go read thank yous. It's the best.
I'm going to do that. That's awesome. Andrew was like, are kids less expensive when you have more of them, or still $200K each?
I think they get more expensive, Andrew.
Yeah.
One gets more.
So, I mean, you can share clothes and shoes and all that stuff if you wanted to among them. But sometimes if they're like my kids, like my son Ronan wants to be like my son Declan every step of the day, which annoys Declan. Like, I don't want him to look like me or be like me. I want him to be, So, I mean, he gets mad when I have to share the clothes with Ronan. He doesn't like that because he's just trying to be like me. He should be his own individual type thing. And I'm like, why am I having these conversations with 5 and 7-year-olds? Like, stop it. Yeah. But then if you get too sick at the same time, that can get really expensive.
Right. It's really all in how you manage it. Although I feel like my 11-year-old often watches my 2-year-old and my 4-month-old. So she offsets some daycare costs.
That's good.
The 18-year-old is buying them actually the most expensive gifts this Christmas, like more than what I'm willing to pay. So I'm like, cool, you get the big gifts this year. Love that for us. You want to buy your sister a VR headset? Okay. Like, also, can I work where you work?
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing, but I'm doing something terribly wrong.
Oh my gosh. So that was one of the conversations I had yesterday because I was at a technical college has a really good CNC machining program. The opportunities of the amount of money that this younger generation can make is so insane. And I was telling the people that I was talking to, I'm like, I'm kind of upset with my guidance counselor because I just feel like I could have done something differently where I'm not in as much debt. And right.
It could have come out of this in an entirely different way.
Right.
I spent my whole life, God love my mother. It's my favorite moments years ago now as on the stage. But my mother has been telling me for my whole life that my bleeding heart and my lack of boundaries and my love of talking were going to give me nothing but trouble in life. So ironically, of course, I now am a professional helper. All I do is work through my bleeding heart and help everybody in my path and get on stages and podcasts and talk about it.
Well, I think what you're doing is really important because I think right now, especially where we're at with, how much things are costing and just the amount of people that cannot get, and I've worked on shop floors before and I've seen the actual stories. And if companies would because I know that companies set a budget aside for some of the nonprofit work that they support. Like they have that budget where they're donating, whether it's to STEM programs, to community organizations, they have that specific budget that they put aside to donate. So I think this is wonderful because it's empowering their employees. It's making their employees feel like they mean something to the work that they're doing. It's going to help them get to work. It's going to make them more productive because they feel that their needs are met and cared about. And it's like you said, it's just a win-win for everybody. And when you give back to people that are helping you be successful, it's really rewarding, and it does help with company culture, and it does help with their reputation. And it's something that your community is also going to recognize. And once, I just feel like if manufacturing companies are successful in their communities, then other businesses within that community are very successful too. So they're kind of like the leader of how things are done. So other companies could be part of this as well too if they follow suit with the manufacturer. So I'm just making assumptions though. So
No, I think you're entirely
theory.
right. Manufacturers have always been industry leaders, right? They've been at the forefront of innovation, and
Yeah.
I, yeah, I feel like that has gone away maybe in the last decade, where suddenly manufacturing companies aren't the forward-thinking innovators that are doing new things and creating new things and right and adding new everything. I can't remember what manufacturing company I just heard about. I was just listening to a book. And now I can't remember, so I can't give them the credit that they deserve. But it was a manufacturing company that is the reason for paid sick time and paid leave. And like they started giving it to their employees because, like, no, it's just the right thing to do. But like they started for the whole country, but they were the ones that started it. It was this big manufacturing company that was like, we like our employees shouldn't have to worry about getting sick and coming to work. Like we're giving them
Yeah.
paid leave. And they did. There were all kinds of like, they were the head of a lot of things like that. This is no different than that, right? This is just a perk to working for a company that cares about you, right? HelpLink is. In other venues and spaces, I spend a lot of time talking about strategic giving and how, sorry for kitten lovers here, but give to kittens on your own time, unless you're a pet store that makes items for kittens, right? Then donate to kittens because that makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying don't donate to things you're passionate about, because of course you should do that, but don't do it with your company's money, because your company is working together to make that money. You are not the only one. And so I get brought in a lot for consultations for that kind of stuff, to look over giving dollars and go, don't do that anymore. Like, you know, if one kid out of 800 is on that softball team, maybe you should be donating to it privately and not with your company's money. So
Yeah, that's a good point though, because I feel like, you know, sometimes employees will have to like really justify wanting a raise. And, you know, when they go in and have those negotiation conversations, they don't want to talk about their personal problems. They want to focus on the skill sets and the value that they're bringing to the company. But a lot of that is behind, you know, this is what I got going on in my personal life and I need that raise to help support my personal life, but they want to be professional about it. They don't want to come and talk about what their personal issues are. And then if they hear the company is supporting a kitten or something, it's kind of a slap in the face to them, and it doesn't make them feel like they bring any value to the company, like they're less than a cat, which I love cats, don't get me wrong.
I always pick on kittens because it's an impact statement. I really actually quite like cats. I have a cat, but he doesn't know that I pick on him often. But you're right. It's very offensive to find out that your company is donating millions of dollars to an organization when you can't pay your electric bill, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it is, and I've seen it time and time again. I've been in companies that are like that, and you cannot have a good company culture for as long as you are donating to kittens over your staff. You just, I said it.
There's no, I'm glad
title of the blog.
I'm glad you said it though. But no, and like I think these are the conversations that some leaders need to hear and understand. Like you have to go back to the root of why your company's successful, and it's because of the people. Andrew just put a sad face of the cat.
Sorry, I know, Andrew. I know. Andrew, I'll be on your podcast and I'll build a kitten Lego as an apology.
There you go.
Done. I'm in.
We love cats, we do. But no, I feel like, you know, some company leaders, because they do have those day by day decisions that they have to make, they do lose touch with, you know, the root of their company, and they do rely on some of their middle management to make those connections. But you know, sometimes that's difficult. And with any problem that goes on the shop floor, the first people to know about it are the shop floor employees. And they have that knowledge on how to fix those problems. And sometimes they're just doing it on their own. And they would be so much more productive if they're less stressed about what's going on in their personal lives. We've all had those moments where we brought our stress to work and it's not productive at all. It's not. So
Well,
if we
how do you
have
cope
that,
with, right?
yeah, you can't, not at all. So
We had
Abigail,
oh,
go
go ahead.
ahead.
I was
Go
going to say
ahead.
we had a woman who had posted for a water bill, right? Her water had run out because her son was in DeVos, which is a children's hospital, and she had spent all of her money on gas. And then she went to go to work, and she couldn't take a shower because she had no water because she got home and forgot to pay her water bill. How do you focus at work when your son's in DeVos, right? When your son's in the hospital and you can't even take a shower to like mentally prepare yourself because you are so far behind on money.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that way, I don't think.
Not at all. Well, Abigail, I really enjoy you as a human being. I think you are a saint for doing the work that you're doing. I think it's a great idea. I think more manufacturing companies should connect with you and have a conversation with you, because I do see this as a huge asset for empowering the employees that they have and retaining them. I did meet a gentleman. He took over a company 2 years ago, and one of the changes that he made was he decided, you know what, I'm going to give the same opportunities and benefits to my hourly paid workers as my salary paid workers. And it's made a huge difference in his company culture. If they bring an idea forth to him and it helps, make the company grow or make more revenue for the company, he actually gives them bonuses as well, which I've never heard of like hourly workers getting
cool.
bonuses. Yeah. So he gives them the same sick and paid off time as the salary workers. If they have something that they need to go to, whether it's family related or medical related, if they give him notice within a couple of hours, he doesn't make them take sick time or paid time off. He just says, okay, go get it done, and then make sure you make up your works. He also condensed the work week down to 4 days instead of 5. And then workers who have missed time because of whatever is going on in their life, they have the opportunity to come in on Friday and make up that work. So he's empowering them to make their own decisions without having to feel guilty about making those decisions. So it's like, okay, I'm going to trust you to do this. So then just come in and make up the work. And it's just helped with the whole vibe at his work.
Yes. One of our companies, RJG, is a plastics manufacturing company, actually, and they're in our area, are on HelpLink. And they have I want to say it's like a 1% turnover rate. Like, and almost every single person who has ever quit has come back to the company at some point to work for them again because they realize what they let go of. They pay 100% of their insurance. They have company picnics. They have Nerf gun wars often. There's all of these things, but they do not struggle. They have felt no impact at all from the industry in the workforce problems, like nothing, because nobody ever leaves. You die at that company and you're happy about it.
That's cool. Andrew said, as a contractor at Microsoft, I get the same paid holidays as the actual. That's cool. I like hearing about that stuff because, I don't think because you're on an hourly schedule that means you're less important to the company. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you're still working hard to make the company successful, so you should be considered. I don't know. And then trust is so empowering. Absolutely. I hate being micromanaged, and I hate when my employer doesn't trust what I bring to the table. It's like, well, why the hell did you hire me then?
Right.
If you don't trust what I bring,
or I'm just you.
Yeah, like this doesn't make me want to hang out with you. Well, Abigail, I want to give you an opportunity to ask our audience a question. So if you had one ask, or if you can't think of a question, a call to action. If you had one ask or call to action for our audience, what would that be?
Oh, it's always going to be the same forever and ever. Amen. If you can't introduce me to your company, right, or maybe your company isn't in a space where they want to do something like this, that does not mean that you cannot. right? We do not have to wait for leaders to do something. We can be the leaders. So my ask is almost always the same, and that is go help somebody today. Don't buy your $5 latte. Don't just go out and donate $5. There are $12,000 worth of unmet needs in the system right now. They range from a woman whose house burned to the ground yesterday and literally everything she owns was inside. And Red Cross could only give her a little bit of money. She has no clothes. She has no food. She has no housing, right? Nothing. To that medical need that we talked about, to a single mom of 6 who needs a washer and dryer. Right? I mean, it ranges so much. And $5 doesn't feel like a lot until everybody gives it, right?
Yeah.
Every
Until you need
that you have gives $5. Now suddenly you guys have met needs together as a community, and you'll get the thank you for it.
I love that. And, I'm not trying to drag in politics because I can't stand them, but I know a lot of people were very disappointed with the results of this past election. And there's been a lot of bickering back and forth on my social media. And I said, it's not the leaders that run this country. It's us.
Amen.
We are the ones that keep this going, and we just have to pull together and help each other out. And that's what makes this
so
country
easy. I mean, it can be. It just has to be an all buy-in, because then it's just one or two that buy in, it doesn't work, right? But when everybody buys in, suddenly a rising tide lifts all boats. So that's my ask. Introduce me to your company. If you feel like they would be a good fit, I'm very happy to have conversations that end with, this isn't for us. Doesn't bug me at all. Right? So don't be shy about that. And then go help somebody that isn't you today.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Abagail, how is what's the easiest way to connect with you and contact you so that they can learn more about HelpLink and get involved?
Yeah, you can go to helplink.org is the website, or Abby, ABBY, at helplink.org will also get you straight to us.
Awesome. And you are also on LinkedIn, so I'll make sure to include your LinkedIn links so that people can connect with you there. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend and enjoy the time with your little one. She is adorable. I saw her last time, and congratulations on your older children.
Than the last time. She's finding her voice and her toes.
That's good. That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining me. I'm glad that she stayed asleep. I know that can be a challenge sometimes, but she did a great job.
Thanks.
Awesome. I don't know what we're going to get today. Well, thank you, Abagail, for joining us today. For all of those tuning in, please make sure you reach out to Abagail. This is the second to last episode of Mavens Manufacturing for 2024. Next week, we have Lindsay Nix. She'll be joining us, so make sure you tune into that. That will be at 11:30 to 12:30 Central Time. And as Abagail said, please go out and help someone. It is the holiday season, and this can be a really hard time for certain individuals. So be sure to brighten up their day, get connected with Abagail. And if that's not something up your alley, just try to give some way, somehow. It makes someone's day. So thank you, everybody, for joining. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Have a good weekend, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
This episode of Mavens of Manufacturing has been sponsored by Z Ink Solutions. Z Ink Solutions. This isn't your grandmother's copywriting service. We provide copywriting and copy editing services that provide impactful text and memorable storytelling for a variety of brands and industries. Contact us today at zinkSolutions.com. That's z-inksolutions.com.